And it is Sunday, June 30th, 9:45 a.m. This is take number 4, I think, of the third video in this series. This video called Windows 10 Upgrade A to Z 3, the third video, calling card and tools. You don't need to know the reasons why the other videos were abandoned and aborted. Let's just call it back to the learning curve and the evolution of this whole process of being able to give you as efficient and thorough and proper as possible guidance for how to upgrade your computer from Windows 7 to Windows 10. It's been almost a week since the last video. There's been some changes that I've made in equipment and methodology. The other 4 takes for this video, one was a week ago and the other 2 or 3 were this morning. So most of those days in the interim was because I was making some changes to equipment and to strategy to improve this process even further, because it is a work in progress and still evolving. In the last video, I told you that I was next going to pursue Windows updates for this laptop computer, and I did do that, and I actually recorded it and live streamed it, and then I aborted that because that laptop turned out to be obsolete back to 2015. And when you update a computer that's that far behind, there's some different ways that you have to deal with it that I wound up thinking is just not really significant to be included in these videos for upgrading Windows 7 to Windows 10. However, some people, small percentage of people, may find that they need to deal with that. So what I'll do after finishing the whole sequence of the Windows 10 upgrade videos is I'll be producing some other standalone individual videos, one of which will be an edited down version of how to deal with updates on a computer that's that far out of date. Next, Windows. In the last video, I mentioned that I had ordered a X-Keys device. Turns out that wasn't quite right. I thought at the time that X-Keys was a type of device, and I found out subsequently that it was actually a brand name. What I had actually ordered was this Elgato Stream Deck, so I now have it on hand. That makes it a little bit easier for me to switch from one scene to another. And I apologize to the X-Keys people and all of their fans for using that name. I do care about getting names correct. I'm sure the X-Keys device is fine. I just happened to come across this device and ordered it. And so far I'm quite happy with it, but moving on, for the remote control connection, in the last video I stumbled around a little bit in regards to the topic of calling card, because I wanted to put a easier method to reestablish the remote connection, and I had not researched it before that video. Well, I have researched it now and developed the calling card. So we'll be uploading the calling card to Edward today and showing how that works. Along with that, we're going to upload a package set of utilities or tools that I've been intending all along to use during the planning phase, the preparation phase, and the post phase. The performing phase won't need these tools. I originally thought that I was going to talk the remote user through going to the website of each of those utilities and downloading a fresh copy of those utilities. And I wound up realizing that that was just going to be so time consuming time and time again with each different remote user that I work with. So instead, I'm going to upload all of those along with the calling card. For people who are going to do the Windows 10 upgrade themselves, I'll produce a separate video after this series of videos is done, showing them how to go to those websites and download those tools. Now, for people who are doing the upgrade themselves, they might pick and choose which of those tools they actually want to implement. They might choose that they can skip some of them. Next, I've made some minor changes to camera angles. I don't need to tell you the details about that. And microphone settings. I want to tell you about this capture device. This was the bulk of the number of days that have been delayed with redoing this. I wanted to use a capture device for this laptop and any other computers that I have here at my desk while demonstrating Windows 10 upgrades, because there are things that happen on the user's desk that I will not be able to see through LogMeIn when I'm using the viewing connection. So utilizing this capture device will allow me to be able to do that. This capture device connects through a USB 3 cable to my computer, and it connects with an HDMI cable to the laptop. Now, when I first tried doing this last week, it crashed my computer over and over and over. I called tech support for StarTech. They were amazing. The first session I had with them on the phone was 2.5 hours. And each time we thought we got to a result and I was ready to hang up, he said, well, is there anything else I can do for you? And then I realized, well, yeah, how about we test to see if it's going to work at this next level for me? And it didn't. And then he works through that with me. I actually worked with them by phone and email over a period of a few days. And we eventually resolved the problem when we discovered that the USB drivers on my computer were not compatible with this device. Now I'm going to be referring to this as a capture device. Its model number is USB 3 HD CAP. Once we discovered that my USB drivers on my computer were not compatible, we found a USB adapter card that I could purchase from StarTech that uses a different chipset, and it would be compatible. I ordered that card, came overnight from Amazon. Shout out to Amazon too. I love being able to order things and get them the next day. Installed the card in, it worked perfectly. So let me give you a little orientation to how that works. You're on camera 1 right now. If I go to camera 2, you see the laptop sitting here. Here's the HDMI cable that goes off the side of the desk to another one of these boxes. I've owned a couple of these for a few years. Let's see, I bought it in 2015. Right now, there's no connection through LogMeIn between these two computers. When I open my OBS, that's the streaming software that I'm using, this shows me the image that is being sent out to you right now. So right now it's camera 2. If I switch to my computer, this shows the image that's on my computer. Picture in picture shows me, and then StarTech is the signal going through that USB cable. So this is where I can show the laptop computer on my streaming computer even when the LogMeIn session doesn't exist. And then I have an extra setting there that shows me utilizing this webcam that's on top of that monitor. And I'm calling that the Skype cam because somewhere down the road I think I'll be using Skype sessions with remote users. So there will be times in this video where I'm going to need to use that, switch to that capture device when I want to show something that's on the laptop screen that I cannot see through Log Me In. Next on my list of things to cover with you is Edward. I'm tired of saying Edward's name. You're tired of hearing it. So I'm going to cut down on the number of times I say that. I think we all understand that I'm going to be giving instructions to the remote user to click on things because I can't click when I'm using the viewing only mode. Okay, that's it for my list of things to talk through. Seriously, has that been almost 3 minutes? I thought it would be more than that. Is this thing working? Oh yeah, that says 10 minutes, 52 seconds. Well, I don't know why the time is showing different. Let's see, show you what I'm talking about. Down here it's showing me 2 minutes, 52 seconds. Now 3 minutes, 1 second for average watch time. But up here it's showing me we've been live for 11 minutes, 10 seconds. Whatever. So let's get going. We want to establish the Log Me In remote connection and then upload the calling card and the tools. And I think that'll be enough for this video. To do that, let's go show you my computer. Oops, I need to get OBS out of the way. So we're back to my computer and come over here to the Log Me In Rescue program on my taskbar at the bottom and click to open it. Move my mouse to the upper left area where it says New Session. It's grayed out right now. It will become available now. There it is. Click on New Session. Type Edward. Click on this Create PIN Code button. So here's the PIN code that Edward's going to use this time. Now I'm going to switch to the capture device so I can show you Edward's screen. And Edward, click on Internet Explorer from your taskbar and then click in the address bar at the top of Internet Explorer. And while that whole address is highlighted, all you need to do now is press the letter L. You don't have to type out www.logmein123.com because this computer remembers that address. So if you just type the letter L and if it shows logmein123.com in the address bar, just press the Enter key. Should be asking you for a 6-digit code. Your code is 666861. And then click the Start Download button. And it'll take a moment before the next message appears. Some people get anxious and they start clicking on other things. We don't want them to do that. That should give you the message asking if you want to run or save. I want you to click on Run. And that should present the chat window in the upper left area of your screen. We just heard a beep on my computer. I'll switch back to my computer and see that this Create New Session window is still here, but if I just drag this down a little bit, I can see underneath that Edward is waiting. I would have wished that the Log Me In folks would not be hiding that. This window should be down here, but they didn't talk to me when they designed that, so that's what it is. I click on the Close button and then right click on Edward's entry and choose Start. Now that little ding you heard was my phone in my pocket. It had nothing to do with this remote session. Now I get these options. I could launch remote control session or launch desktop viewing session. As we go forward with this, you're going to see some of the things that happen on Edward's computer that I won't be able to see in my Log Me In session is when he gets user account control messages. When I'm connecting to my local clients, I have a different relationship with them. I always do restart applet as system service and launch remote control. That way I will be able to see those user account control messages. But while we're using the desktop viewing session, I will not be able to see those messages. And that's the way I'm typically going to be doing this, I think, with remote users. If a remote user says, no, I want you to do remote control session, Doug, I want you to do the clicking. Some people will find that it's just a more pleasant experience to them to watch and that they can absorb what's happening easier rather than if they're having to follow my verbal instructions of what to click on. And even when I'm using the laser pointer, it's for some people, they'll find that there's just too much going on in their mind, and they'd rather just watch and listen and learn that way, and that's fine. So I'm going to click on Launch Desktop Viewing Session. Now there's a message that shows up on Edward's computer that I can't see, so I'm going to switch to the capture device so you can see it. Edward, you should be seeing a message that's asking you, Doug Betts would like to view your desktop. I need you to click on the OK button. He does that. And now we can switch back to my computer. And through Log Me In, I now see his desktop. Edward, would you go ahead and close Internet Explorer by clicking the X in the upper right corner of Internet Explorer? We don't need that window anymore. We'll leave that chat window open for now. And I want to point out that I'm going to leave on my computer, I'm going to leave Edward's screen in this windowed view. I call this a windowed view because he's showing as a window inside my Log Me In rescue screen. This area around the perimeter is my Log Me In rescue screen. We're going to do that upload now. We're going to upload the calling card and the other tools. So I'm going to move my mouse to the left-hand side of my Log Me In rescue screen, and then down to the bottom, there's this little icon down here that looks like a file folder. I click on that. It's called Send File. That's what that icon is called. And this pops up a dialog box. That's what this is called when a window pops up that's you need to interact with, click on things or whatever you might have to do. It's called a dialog box because your computer is having a dialogue with you. It has automatically opened up into the folder that I most recently used in this process. That doesn't really matter too much to you. But each one of these folders that are showing up here, these are the tools that we're going to be using. And this last one down here is the Log Me In rescue calling card. This file that's called DougBettsTools.zip. That file is a zip file that contains all the others that we're seeing on the screen right now. So that file is the only one that we have to upload to Edward because it actually contains a compressed version of all those other folders and programs and files. So I click on that once and then click the Open button. When I click Open, you're going to see a new dialog window pop up on Edward's screen. Okay, here's the dialog window on Edward's screen. And it's offering us the opportunity to save this file. It shows the name of the file there called DougBettsTools.zip. Edward, I'd like for you to click on Desktop on the left-hand side near the top, right under the word Favorites. Now this mouse pointer that you're seeing moving up there right now is my mouse pointer. If I try clicking there, I can't do it. Edward has to take his mouse and move it over to Desktop and click. Then, Edward, I'd like you to click on Save. Now, hang on a moment, Edward. Before Edward actually clicks on that, I want to point out I'm not normally a big fan of saving things on the desktop. But in the case of a technician operating remotely, it's a very convenient way to do things. And the intention is to clean up those afterwards, not leave them on the user's desktop after we're done with whatever support that we're providing. So Edward, go ahead and click on Save. And we see a message here that's at 54% of 438 megabytes. So it's just that quick to upload all of those files. On Edward's screen, he can see this. Let's switch to the capture device view right now so you can see that larger. It shows this message, file transfer complete, and above that it says receiving DougBettsTools.zip. So all of these messages in here on Edward's chat window shows all of the things that I've been doing as I've been connected. And if I were actually connected with remote control rather than viewing, these messages would still be here. Edward would still be able to see them. After I disconnect from that type of a session, he can still see these messages because they are left on the screen. And I cannot hide those from him. And that's a security feature that's built into LogMeIn Rescue to prevent a technician from doing things that they shouldn't ought to be doing. So essentially, there's a record of what we've done. All right, now let's go back to my computer with LogMeIn Rescue, and now we'll go to full screen and we'll stretch to window. So now this is my screen that you're seeing right now, and up at the top there's this control toolbar that I have. Edward cannot see that. Edward, I'd like you to find that zip file that we just uploaded to your desktop. If you find it difficult to find that among the things that are on your desktop, here's what you can do. Now, this is a tip for anybody using Windows. When you're trying to find an icon on your desktop, if you know the first letter of that icon, here's what you can do. Edward, I'd like you to click on any icon on your desktop. And let's also minimize that chat window because we don't need that open right now. And then click on any icon on your desktop. Then press the letter D because we know that file that we're looking for begins with the letter D. And Edward does that, and the highlighter moves to the first item on his desktop beginning with the letter D, and that's it. DougBettsTools.zip. It's near the top, kind of in the middle of the pack of all of those icons. Now, just for demonstration's sake, Edward, press your letter D again, and it'll move to any other icon on your desktop that begins with the letter D. In this case, it's on the left-hand side, third from the top, Dragon Naturally Speaking. Edward, press the letter D once more, and now it moves back to DougBettsTools.zip. That tells us there's only two items on the desktop that begin with the letter D. Now, Edward, I'd like you to right-click on DougBettsTools.zip, and from that menu, left-click on Extract All. Now we get a dialog box offering us the opportunity to determine where we want to extract those files. By default, it's going to extract them into a folder called DougBettsTools. That folder is going to be on the desktop. And that's fine with me. We got a check mark here, show extracted files when complete. That's fine with me. Edward, click on Extract. 746 items inside that 490 megabyte file. We can see that right here on this status window. Now this is not a dialog window because it's not interacting with us. It's just a message window displaying something to us. In this case, the status of this extraction. It tells us 2 minutes remaining. These time estimates are notoriously inaccurate. It can go faster during some portions of the graph. We saw that this graph went pretty fast at the beginning and now it's slowed down quite a bit. This is going to display a window for us when it's done that will contain that remote calling card and all the other utilities that we're going to be needing during this process. The first thing that we're going to do at that point is we're actually going to install the calling card and then demonstrate how to use it. So here's that window. It just finished up on that graph really quick at the end. Here's all those different utilities. There's 7 of them. And then here's the Log Me and Rescue calling card. Edward, single click on that Log Me and Rescue calling card. And then I'm going to, in a moment, I'm going to have him press the enter key. Now, because of these various takes that I've abandoned, I don't recall if I've told you this already in this video, but I will often ask a remote user to single left click on an item, then press the enter key instead of double clicking. Double clicking would work just fine, but I find when I'm working with somebody remotely, sometimes it doesn't work so well. The remote connection itself might have a problem with doing that. Or the user, their mouse might be moving just the slightest bit between clicks, and so they don't accomplish a double click. So it's far more assured to ask for a single click and then press the enter key. Go ahead, Edward, enter key. And previous installation detected. Well, I thought I prevented that from happening again. Well, that's okay. That's not one of the reasons why I abandoned, is I actually had uninstalled that previously. I didn't want to get this window, but anyway, we got this window. Normally, the remote user is not going to get this window because the product will not have previously been installed. So I'm going to click, we're going to select Upgrade, Reinstall Product, and click the Next button. And click the Next button. Now here's a situation where Edward has a message on his screen that I cannot see through Log Me In. And I'm going to have to remember that, or I'm going to have to direct the remote user to tell me when this happens. So I'm going to switch to the capture device to show you what's happening on Edward's screen. He's got this message, this dialog window, for user account control. Do you want to allow the following program to install software on this computer? And we're going to click yes. But when I use remote connection with running as a system service, then I will be able to see this message on my screen. Edward, click on yes. And then we'll switch back to my computer. We get a message, the specified account already exists. That's not going to happen if it has not been installed on this computer before. Edward, click on the OK button. We get a message here. Log Me and Rescue calling card setup wizard ended prematurely. Well, that's because it has been previously installed on this computer, and my attempt at uninstalling apparently wasn't thorough enough. So go ahead and click on the Finish button. I think we're still going to be functional. And wonder if that's happening because we have a log me in session already established. Okay, let's try that. I'm going to go to the control toolbar, the log me in control toolbar at the top of my screen, and exit full screen mode, and then end that session. And come up here to Edward and end that. Now I'm going to switch back to the capture device to show you Edward's screen. And I'm going to minimize that screen, and I see this log me in button down here. That's for the chat window, so I'm going to close that chat window and then see if there's an icon on the desktop for log me in. There is not. Is there an icon for Doug Betts? It's just the Doug Betts tools and DougBettsTools.zip. We're going to go back to this folder. Okay, so we're going to try installing that again without having a log me in rescue session actually active. So Edward, single left click on the log me in rescue calling card so that it's highlighted, and press the enter key. And then if it says upgrade, click on next, and then next, and then answer yes. Specified account already exists, and it ended prematurely. I'm going to go look at the Programs menu, and there's Computer Age Consulting Log Me In Rescue Calling Card. Okay, so it starts with a C. Let's minimize that window and look for a C on the desktop. It's not on the desktop, so it's on the Program menu. All right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this video. Okay, so we had another issue occur here where I considered abandoning this stream, but instead I concluded I'm just going to edit out a few minutes of something that went wrong here, and it's a part of the evolution or the work in progress of doing these live stream Windows 10 upgrades. And so I've learned this lesson. It's not going to happen again. There's no point in you seeing it, but it has to do with this calling card issue. So I'm going to pick up at a point where things went wrong. And we'll see how it goes. All right, so this, we're not actually resumed yet. We're still paused, essentially. And I'm going to edit this out. Program data, Windows menu, rescue calling card. It's not even showing there as an installed program. Ah, Computer Age Consulting. It shows up in the programs list as Computer Age Consulting, Log Me and Rescue calling card. Uninstall that. So everything up to unzipping that zip file was fine. It's launching the calling card installation is where we need to pick up. Right. Okay. Okay, I just had a little glitch and I cut out a few minutes in this video. This was streamed live, so at the moment right now, while I still have no viewers and only those 21 subscribers, so nobody's watching, I had several minutes of video here that you didn't see just now, because I'm going to go back and remove that because of something that went wrong. And this is part of the learning curve. This is part of the developing this procedure of being able to help people install Windows 10 or upgrade Windows 10 remotely. So that last few minutes you don't need to see. We're just going to pick it up from where it went wrong. And here we go. We'll go back to get things back in order here. So I need that remote session running. So nope, this is not it yet. We're not back live yet. I've got to reestablish the remote session. Because we still had that active when things went wrong. Oh. Okay, you probably wouldn't have noticed unless I disclosed to you, like I'm doing right now. I just cut out several minutes of this live stream video, and I'm not letting you see it because I had a little glitch. Something went wrong, and it took several minutes to recover from it. And it's going to be kind of irrelevant moving forward. Basically, what happened is I didn't have the calling card properly uninstalled from Edward's laptop. Therefore, the installation didn't proceed properly. And I just didn't see any reason to be showing you how I recovered from that. So after this live stream is done, I'm going to go back and edit that piece out, and you're not going to see it. All right, so let's resume where things went so wrong. I'm going to switch back to my computer screen where we're viewing Edward's desktop. Edward, I'd like you to single click on the Log Me In Rescue calling card and then press the Enter key. Then click on Next and click on Next. So it's installing the calling card on Edward's computer now. It's not going to automatically launch that session on Edward's computer. Now, Edward has a message on his screen right now that I cannot see on my screen, and this is going to be one of the things that I'm going to have to deal with in using the viewing method with these remote sessions. I'm going to switch to the capture device to show you what's on Edward's screen. This user account control, I won't be able to see these messages through the remote session. When I'm working with my local clients' computers and I use restart as system service and remote control, then I can see these messages. So I'm going to need to train the remote users. When you get a message that pops up on your screen titled User Account Control and the rest of your screen is all kind of grayed out, I need you to tell me about that because I can't see that. And then I want you to go ahead and click on the Yes button. Now the remote users, I could train them to just go ahead and click Yes anytime they see that without asking me about it or without waiting for me. So it finished that installation. Now we've got a dialog window. It's a dialog window because there's opportunity for us to click on check boxes and click a button. Computer Age Consultant Log Me In Rescue calling card is now installed. There's an option here for Start Computer Age Consulting Rescue Card when Windows starts up. We do not want to do that. We do not want to read the text, README text file. We don't need to launch the calling card at this point because we already have a remote session established. So we're going to remove that check mark and then we're going to click on Finish. And then let's minimize this Windows Explorer window. And let's find that calling card. It begins with the letter C because it's named Computer Age Consulting, which is my business name. Now you may have already spotted it on Edward's desktop, but in the case where it is possible that a user might have difficulty spotting it, so I want to point out that you can click on any icon on the desktop, and Edward's got his cursor about the middle of the screen moving to this aviation insurance icon, and click on it once. and then press the letter C on your keyboard. It'll move to the first item that it finds that begins with a C. Then press C again. It moves to another item that begins with a C. Press C again. There's another one. Again, 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 again. And there it finally found the one that we're interested in. Computer Age Consulting, Log Me In, Rescue Calling Card. When Edward wants to establish a remote session, all he has to do is double-click on that icon. Now we're going to simplify that a little bit more. Keep in mind that we have a remote session already started, already running. Now I'm going to ask Edward to go ahead and double-click on that icon, or it can be actually, since it's already highlighted, the Enter key would do it, right? Press the Enter key. Now, at this point right here, I want to point out that there's a new item on the taskbar down at the bottom. Notice there's two icons here that have the same icon image. One is Computer Age Consulting. That's for the connection that we have through my Log Me In remote, Log Me In Rescue. This other icon is for the calling card. Edward, if you would right-click on that icon for the calling card, then from that menu choose Pin this program to taskbar. Now that icon's going to stay on the taskbar even when the program's not active. So Edward, now I'd like you to click on, in that Connect to Remote Support window, click on the Cancel button. So you actually cancel that. And now look again at the taskbar. That icon that we pinned is there. That takes a single left click to run it. Go ahead and do a single left click on that. And that brings up this window where you could choose Continue in order to establish the remote session. We're going to do that in a moment, but not yet. Click on the Cancel button. Now, Edward, I'd like to actually end the remote session with you. The remote session is this Log Me In icon on the taskbar that looks like it's still an open program. If you would click on that, that's going to open up the chat window. And you can end this remote session either by clicking on the X in the upper right corner of that window, or click on the red X on the left area of that. Now, the pop-up on that says it would revoke all permissions, and that is another way of ending the session. Go ahead and click on that. Now, I've never actually done that, but that did end the session. Now we're back on my desktop showing Log Me In, and it has the remote control session and remote view, the viewing session button still available, so I could reopen that session. And up here it says active. This is curious to me. I was expecting that to indicate that the session has ended. That's interesting. I hadn't seen that before. I'm going to switch back to the capture device and show you what's going on Edward's computer. Oh gosh, have you been on that all this time? Yeah, I think you've been on that on Edward's computer. All right, well that's fine. I think you were seeing things fine. So Edward's computer here shows desktop viewing by Doug Betts stop. So he's actually stopped the viewing, but on my computer, which I was just describing to you and you weren't seeing, now I'm showing it to you, is the launch remote control session and desktop viewing session buttons are still available to me. The connection is still active. I didn't realize clicking that red X was going to do that. So back to the capture device. Edward, if you will go ahead and click on the X in the upper right corner, that should actually end the support session, and then answer yes. So that X in the upper right hand corner is actually a quicker, easier way to end the support session. Now going back to my computer, we can see the remote control button and the viewing session buttons are not available. Up here on the top, status says closed. I right click on that and choose end. Now I'm still on the telephone with Edward. I don't think I've mentioned this before, but I intend to be on a telephone call with remote users, giving them the verbal instructions. They're not going to be watching through the live stream, because for them to watch on their computer for the live stream and do all this other work on that computer is usually going to be too much for their computer to handle or their internet connection to handle. And because of the 4 or 5 second delay, that's going to be kind of difficult way to do it. So the remote user is going to be looking at their computer and operating the keyboard and mouse, and they're going to be on a phone call with me or a Skype call. So now I'm still on the phone call with Edward. Edward, I'd like for you to go ahead and click on that icon on your desk, on your toolbar, the one for the remote calling card. Now notice when Edward floats his mouse over it, it doesn't say Computer Age Consulting calling card. It says Log Me in Rescue. Now up here on his desktop there is Computer Age Consulting calling card. Now let's try clicking on this one on the taskbar and see if it does what I thought it was going to do. Yes, it does. So it is going to initiate the calling card session. So then Edward, click on the continue button. And now it's asking for a name. This place where it's asking for a name is Edward's name, not the technician's name. It's the name that I'm going to see him showing up on my screen. So Edward, just type your name in that field and then click connect. Okay, now I'm switching to my screen, and we expect to see Edward show up. There he is. It says Edward waiting, and I'm going to right click on that and choose start, and then I'm going to click on launch desktop viewing session, and I'll switch you back to Edward's screen. There's a dialog box there saying Doug Betts would like to view your desktop, and Edward clicks OK. Switch back to my computer. Now I can see Edward's desktop inside my Log Me in Rescue. We've already uploaded all of those utility files. We've established this easier way of making a remote connection, and we're ready to end this live stream session, almost 54 minutes. So I'm going to click end and then right click on Edward and choose end, and then show you Edward's screen, and it just shows this chat window that indicates the desktop viewing session by Doug Betts has stopped. And then Edward closes that window by clicking on the X, and we're done for this session. So I think the next session is finally going to be getting into planning the Windows 10 upgrade. That might be later today that I do that. I'm not sure at the moment, but whenever it is, I'll catch you then. Have a great day. Bye.